Hey everyone, Pastor George here for our final Theolog in the week on supernatural things, and today we're going to talk about angels. Now, angels, I'm sure you've heard this a lot before, but just to recap, are not the little cute naked babies that everyone thinks or makes fun of them as in Renaissance paintings or whatever, but actually they were pretty scary, which is why every time an angel shows up in the Bible, people are always afraid, and the angel has to tell them not to be afraid. I actually think the best kind of visualization of an angel in my whole life of observing media is actually from a video game called Diablo, where they're angels, and the angels look very faceless. They are faceless. You can't see their face, and they're in this battle armor and stuff like that. And I think that's probably what angels are most like, because they're supposed to be warriors for God, essentially, and messengers. The word in both Hebrew and in Greek for angel, we get ours from Greek angelos, which is messenger. So they're messengers. They act as an intermediary between God and the world. Sometimes they bring things. Sometimes the Bible uses the word angel to describe God. So if you've ever seen the angel of the Lord, that's not a specific angel it's talking about. It's actually talking about God. And that's just the Hebrews way of talking about this, how angels serve as these intermediaries between these two things. Angels are obviously very popular in our culture. They're very distinct, right? We can tell what an angel is supposed to look like, or at least what we imagine them to look like. There are all sorts of different descriptions of them in the Bible. Sometimes they appear to be like people, and they look like people. Other times they look really, really scary, like in Revelation study for this week, where they have tons of eyes and it was sometimes different heads and feathers all over them and stuff like that. And so a lot of depictions try and take all these things and put them together to various effects, some good, some bad. But how it actually impacts most people is, I think, you're either like me and you don't really care that much about angels or whatever, or you're like really, really into them. And I feel like those are the kind of the two things. So a lot of people have a big belief in guardian angels and things like that, and that's actually a extra biblical belief. It was kind of something where people were looking at certain verses in the Bible, and they were taking it from Hebrews, for instance, and from Matthew, where Jesus talks about these children, being us as Christians, have angels that look down on them from heaven, and people saying, oh, that means that there are these angels falling around. I don't actually believe that. I do think it's extra biblical. I do not think there's biblical evidence for guardian angels. And I think the reason that it is why we need to avoid that type of thinking is because we don't want to put creatures, which are angels, right? Angels are created. They're actually on the totem pole. They're actually lower than us because they don't have, it appears to be, any free will, and they're not made in the image of God like we are. So it's actually kind of interesting. You might think that these heavenly beings are kind of above you or whatever, but they're actually below humanity in God's eyes. So we're putting our faith in a created being rather than the creator. And I think when people look first to angels and to saints and all these other things, they miss out on the important part of it being that, no, we're not, these people, if anything, are just intermediaries for God, and really the person who's looking out for us is God himself. And so I think that's what we need to think about, and we need to be careful not to kind of attribute divine action to these creatures apart from God, and we need to be careful about that. So I think that we need to, just like demons, we need to acknowledge that angels exist. Maybe some of you have seen them. I know some people who claim they've seen them. Always test the spirits. Be really certain when you say things like that. But they certainly do exist. But always remember that they are not divine, right? They are not gods. So do not treat them like that. Just see them as messengers, scary messengers, but messengers all the same. So there you go. That's my thoughts on angels for today. Next week we'll be talking about something else. Still haven't decided, but I will see you then. Have a safe weekend, and I will see you guys on Sunday.